serious. I am serious.
All right.
Financial services.
I'll call the November 30th, 2022 meeting of the Fire Station Building Committee to order. Everyone is present, so I don't think I have to take roll call attendance at all, right? Aaron's not on there. Aaron Hunt's not present. Everyone else is in the room. So first agenda item, public comment. We do have one person from the public here.
Hi, Donna Jones. I've watched our Freeman Kennedy School being built in the police station, and there's some problems that we basically opened with. Some were realized right away, and some it took a while to. How is this team proposing to prevent those or handle them quickly?
Yeah, so Ron or Steve, I don't know if one of you want to handle this. I think it's a general construction oversight question.
Well, once construction starts on site, we will have a CSM, construction site manager / clerk of the works, on site full-time from Vertex to monitor the contractor's work. There will be weekly job meetings that will have the designer and the entire team in attendance to meet with the general contractor. We will obviously require them to submit RFI logs, submittal logs. There will be a web-based project management system that is part of the contract that we will all be have access to in order to monitor the paperwork on the project. And there are also a number of third-party independent inspectors for items like concrete, soil compaction, structural review, HVAC commissioning, and building envelope commissioning. So there's a lot of different eyes on the work of the general contractor and subcontractors right from the start of the project.
Thank you.
Okay.
For an upcoming item on the agenda, I'm finding that knowing what a program is in relating to construction would be helpful to people. As I understand it, it was a let's talk about what do we need to function, and that type of checklist is interesting to me as a public person.
Can you clarify the question a little bit? Like what sort of checklist are
I
you
just
talking
meant
about?
in your, what to present at the next public meeting or at town meeting. I think it's not just, here's the building and this is what we need, but to go over, well, we looked at what do we need for sleeping quarters? What do we need for storage away from the trucks? And basically the reverse of the first video of what's wrong with how we are. Kind of in order to get away from the problems we have, we're doing.
Okay. We'll take that under consideration. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I don't think anyone else from the public is on the call, so we'll move into our first agenda item. Update on the bidding process and results of November 30th pre-bid conference and site visit.
Well, a few things have happened since our last meeting. We did post our first project that they decided to use it on, I think much to Ron's chagrin, because it didn't quite go as smoothly as maybe bid docs thought it would. But long story short, the project was up on their website probably on the 17th as opposed to the 16th. It had no impact to our bid dates. There is some adjustments that have to be made that are being made by addenda for some templated pages of the spec that Bid Docs has decided to implement. But that's being straightened out. We did today have our bidders pre-bid briefing at the fire station. Only got 5 firms that showed up. 3 were hazardous materials removal subcontractors, 1 epoxy floor, and we did get 1 GC. Regardless of the number of firms that showed up, we went through all the information, essentially giving them a high-level view of the project and the procedures and dates for submitting their bids. We did also check on Bid Docs Online to see who had pulled plans to date. To date, there was 25 plan holders. 3 were non-construction. There was 1 GC and 21 subcontractors, which is a little concerning, but we do know that the GC that showed up today was not listed as being a plant holder, so they probably got their documents by another route, possibly Project Dog, which is a competitor of Bid Docs, who had also pulled the plans. We went through the building with the contractors, both inside and outside, gave them a high-level view. Mainly what we're looking for is, it was not a question and answer period so much, it's really giving them an opportunity to look at the existing conditions. All pre-bid RFIs do have to be submitted in writing, and that's all included in the instructions for bidders. So really, we have right now we have one addenda that's been issued. There's a second addenda that's being worked on now to be issued in anticipation for our file sub-bid due date of December 15th.
So,
and one side note, I had 2 other projects where file sub-bids were due today, and was able to do a quick evaluation of them before the meeting. Both projects, the file sub-bids came in about 6 to 7% below the estimate, which was good news. And it's really not the type of news we're seeing that prices are going down. It's showing that the estimating team has locked into what the bidders market is right now. And, again, like we've said a number of times, we want our budget to be not the winning bid. We want it to be in the pack. So, 6 to 7% isn't a lot of money, but it's better than wondering what we did wrong. So that's just sort of aside. I don't know what we're going to come in on this project, but I did have 2 today that were consistent. So. And
today's walkthrough is not mandatory, right? So just because only
not
one
mandatory,
GC
no.
showed up, okay.
Nope.
Is there any way to know how many GCs are going to bid it ahead of time, or really we won't know that until the date?
You won't know that till the date.
Yeah.
Because you may have GCs that pull the plans, and then they win something in between now and our bid day, and they realize their capacity is full, and they don't bid it.
Got it.
So.
All right. Any other questions or comments on that?
No.
All right. Update on NCTV video. I'm actually going to ask if Donna Jones can update us on that at all.
Hello. So what happened was the chief, Kevin, and Aaron came into the studio, and they had their scripts We recorded their audio. Chris at NCTV is editing it, and I'm working with him. We did have a staff member leave, Katie, the manager, and so Chris has been going out and filming things and trying to edit, and so he's about 40% done, adding pictures on top of. Like, I'm looking at the scripts and circling something and finding a picture. What are we going to look at while you're saying this? So he's hoping to have a rough draft maybe Friday, and do all three of you want to see it?
Yeah, I think so.
And in case we're on the wrong path, it's easier to tell us right now.
Sure.
Like that.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Should have it complete middle of next week.
Okay. Sounds good.
And I will share the link with the committee and let you put it on the,
Yeah, if you send it to me, I can send it out and get anybody's thoughts on it. So,
okay.
thank you. Any questions about the video? All right. Discuss topics from special town meeting held on November 15th. I'm only aware of one item, which was our zoning change for the church, which passed. I think there were some nay votes, but not many. So thank you for everybody that showed up, voted yes. So I think, I mean, it's good news. We don't have to worry about the green belt now at that front corner of the property. Ron, is there anything else you want to add? Or Steve?
Well, I think Steve and I discussed the fact that, we don't have to worry about the easement area, right? That was the big bone of contention that was kind of going back and forth and being discussed as to whether or not you plant or not in the easement. So now we don't have to plant in the easement. One thing that Steve and I discussed was that the planning board has approved the design as it stands right now, which includes the plants outside of the easement along the western property line. So our suggestion is let's just leave those plants in there for now, get the bid results, get the project passed. Plenty of time, right, to discuss this further with Bob and with Rich at the planning board. So once the project is moving forward, you as a committee have an opportunity to go back to talk to Bob and the planning board to say, do we have to plant these trees and these plantings along the west side of the entire property line. But for right now, we thought, let's leave it in so we don't have to open the planning board process again.
Okay.
So we'll just leave the design the way it is. The good news is with the vote, and it's great that the community agreed with the request. We don't have to add plants in the easement.
Anything else anybody wants to discuss on that? All right. Discuss preparations for committee presentation at community event on December 14th and then January 11th special town meeting. So I think the January 11th discussion will be a little more in depth. So as far as the community event on December 14th, I did have a couple people pull me aside after the town meeting, and it sounded like they were going to show up. So hopefully we'll have good attendance. Amanda was able to reach out to the library. They have somebody using the room until I think 6:45, which is why I said at town meeting that we'd start at 7:15. I guess we can meet beforehand. We might just have to meet here if we want to have a regular committee meeting that night, which might be a good idea, maybe to go over anything that we storyboard on January 11th. But I guess I just wanted to confirm, is the 14th still good for everyone to attend?
Checking right now.
Okay. And my thought, Ron and Steve, are you guys available on the 14th?
Checking as we speak.
Okay. I think it would be good to have someone from Vertex and or Doran Whittier, if you're not, if the two of you are not available, just if we do have good turnout, they might have specific design questions. But my thought was going on?
I can be available.
Okay.
I can make it.
I can skip my holiday party. That's not a problem.
Oh,
I think we should
That's
hold
the day.
I think we should hold the community meeting at the holiday party.
yeah, there you go. You don't have to skip that. You just tell John he can't go to the holiday party.
Okay, that's not a problem.
I mean, yeah, if you can make it, Steve, great. But if you got another commitment, it's fine. But
Yeah, I'm not worried.
so my thought to approach that was similar to the last few. I can kind of give an introduction, and then Ron, if you want to walk through the project a little bit, we'll have the same. I mean, I think we just use the same boards we've been using before. My guess is we're probably not going to get people who have shown up to these before to show up again. So it's going to be bringing new people up to speed on the project. So, Chief, I assume you still have the boards and the easels that you can bring. And I can certainly turn it over to you for a few words after I give an introduction. But I think that's how we've kind of done it the last couple times, and then I'll give it to you, Ron, to maybe just walk through, how we arrived at the square footage that we have, that we're currently bidding the project, what the cost estimate is, and kind of give an overview of the project itself.
Okay, just at our last meeting, did we say we were going to try to do a dry run of what we were going to do at the special town meeting?
Possibly, if we can get it pulled together for then. I just don't know.
I'm not saying either way, I just
Yeah,
want to know.
I think we can play it by ear and see how, if we get some good ideas on paper tonight, and I talked to Ron before this meeting, he said that he could put together kind of a slideshow putting together those points. If we feel like it's in good enough shape, we can use that. Otherwise, we can use the boards, and I'll just go through my regular.
That's the reason I was
Advance.
asking, because if there's like a slideshow or something, I'd like to take a quick peek at them.
Well, I'm hoping, so we can start talking about that now. If we can talk about setting up the slideshow, and then it gets distributed before the 14th, and then people have comments, then maybe we can get it addressed. But
Thank you.
we can play that by ear a little bit. So anything else that anybody wants to bring up for the 14th? Did you confirm you're good?
At the firehouse.
You're at the firehouse, okay.
I'll be
You're good? Okay. Okay. And I'll send Aaron a text to see if he's available, but, Chief, are you available?
Yes. I already have it in my calendar.
Okay. You guys good too? or-
Unfortunately.
You don't have a Christmas party to go to
I could.
in your
Can
office?
easily find one. We'll put this on our social media and stuff as well.
Okay,
Town Facebook page.
good.
Try to
All right.
get it out there. I'll be there.
I think in the past you've put it on the board, usually outside the firehouse too, right?
Yeah, if we get, if that digital board isn't in use, we can have it on there.
Okay. All right. So for the January 11th special town meeting, so what I was hoping to do tonight was maybe kind of set up what we want to talk about, and maybe what we want to have on certain slides and in what order. Justin or Todd, can you bring up, I know Chris and I had sent some kind of top 5 issues that might come up at the meeting that we might want to touch on. I think it was attached to the meeting packet. I don't know if you can bring it up.
If Amanda's on there, Amanda, can you pull that up, please?
Let's see her on it, but
Sure, one second.
She's.
I'm logged in as Justin.
Yeah.
got it.
Did you find out from the moderator how much time is available?
Yeah, so he said really we could have as much time as we needed because he thought it would be the only warrant article.
Okay.
And that's another good point, is that there are going to be a couple meetings between now and then. We're working out a meeting time with the advisory board, so we have to technically meet with them ahead of time so that they can discuss the warrant article. I'll find out the date and send it to everybody, and if you can make it, great. I'm not sure. It sounded like maybe it's not going to be a Wednesday because it's got to happen sooner than the 21st, which was the next available Wednesday, but I'll find out when that's going to be. And then there's a meeting with the town moderator as well, right? Do we need to attend that?
No, it's the moderator's committee. Typically, he'll just go through the warrant article and go over the motions. I think having a representative there might be helpful, but in terms of the committee, I don't think we need to all be there for that.
Sure. Okay.
It's more a logistical meeting that.
Is that usually during the day or at?
Yeah, it's usually during the day. We've had people participate via Zoom.
Yeah, you can let me know the day, and depending on the time, I
Right.
might be able to call in.
Okay.
So.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So I honestly didn't look through your issues yet, Chris.
Fair enough.
I know mine. So my big ones were what happened in 2016 and how are we preventing a similar outcome? Why is the square footage of this building so much larger than it was in 2016? Why can't we renovate the existing building? Wouldn't that be less expensive? What will this mean to my tax bill? That might be the biggest question. Would we be better off bidding this project when the market is not so volatile? And then you had emphasized conditions of the existing station, including structural deficiencies, cost to taxpayers, square footage of building versus previous studies, as well as comparison to stations in similar towns. Discuss how this has been stripped down to a needs-based building, and explain where people can find additional information. So I think there's a little bit of overlap there.
Yeah.
I think honestly, if I was going to boil this down even further, it's what happened in 2016. Why is the building so big? What's the cost to the taxpayer? I think are probably the biggest ones.
Are you looking to say these in your initial talk in the beginning to hopefully head off some questions, or are these like talking points if someone asks the question?
No, I was thinking that the slideshow should maybe touch on 2016, touch on existing conditions, touch on our project, and then open it. I don't know if there's another, and then probably the cost of the taxpayer, and then open it up to questions. And I guess I want to try and figure out what do we want to talk about and in what order.
I think, from my perspective, I think maybe a history of the project, like what did we look at, what was discussed, because we started with 3 separate options. And do we add, renovate, do we build new, like how do we approach this? So maybe a brief overview of that and how we got to where we are now, and then talk about existing conditions and square footage comparison, storage needs, codes, safety, health, and wellness changes.
So when you say history of project, you think touching on 2016 first? Or the history of this project?
This project.
Yeah.
Because I think we hear a lot of questions about, like, why, like the one question, like, why can't we renovate the building? We looked at that. I don't think most folks are too keen on going back into YouTube and watching all the meetings or reading all the notes. I think we need to just be upfront and say, hey, if you missed it all, here's a brief overview of how we got to where we are.
So not necessarily touching on 2016 yet. I don't know, I guess my thought was maybe we want to touch on 2016 first.
I think the format how we do, I agree with what Justin was saying, but I kind of was thinking, Kevin, this is just my thought, that touch base on 2016 a little bit first. That gives you the history of why we're at this project, right? Because people have heard about this project and the police station that is out there. So touch on 2016 first, then we tie into what Justin said, talking about what we've done there, that we've evaluated these different things, whether add, renovate, etc., and then go maybe into the structural deficiencies, the existing stations, maybe have some images and stuff there so people can see that as well if they haven't been able to go out to the trailer and see the station. So, and then, build off of that. But
Is it reasonable to put pictures from inside the living trailer in there so they can see the cramped conditions and the things like that?
Ron, you had a good idea when we were talking about playing a video. right?
Yeah, I think something like that would be helpful.
Did we lose him?
Looking for me, or
What's that?
I'm wondering who you lost.
Oh,
Microphone ducked out, ask him again, and you probably didn't hear it.
oh, my microphone was off?
The Zoom had an issue.
Oh, okay. No, we were talking about presenting existing conditions, and I was bringing up that when you and I spoke, you had a good idea of maybe having a video that walks through the building and shows the conditions that they're living in rather than us talking about it.
Yeah, just something quick, you know?
Yeah.
And I meant to go back and watch the video that's already been put together. Does that show the trailer conditions and things in it, or is it just you kind of talking about the conditions?
No, it's a pretty good video. It covers a lot. I think that was one of the I don't know, issues with it is that it was probably too long, for people to want to sit and digest all of it. But there's information in there with, Donna came and actually did video of the apparatus leaving the bay for a call, so you can see how tight, how close and how tight the bays are. She has video showing the sagging and the thresholds and different, cracks and things in the walls. I think she has some video too of how close the apparatus is together, plus the exhaust and moisture issues with the PPE and all of those things. She documented very well in that video.
Is the video worth showing in its entirety at town meeting, or is it too long?
I think it's on if you're connected to the internet, it's on the website. Can someone go to it and just see how long it is?
I think in general, any video we embed.
How long?
13.
13 minutes?
That's way too long.
Probably too long.
I think 3 minutes is your top maximum for a video at any kind of town meeting or class or anything like that.
I agree. I think
But
shorter.
if we're the only topic,
But people will lose focus and they'll be playing Crossy Roads or something on their phone instead of watching the video.
Yes, Donna? You made the video, so I guess you can comment.
I took lots of footage, and then once again, we used the audio to put which video to put with it. But if you say, give me a segment of vehicles too tight, you could, in the auditorium, see videos, vehicles are too tight. If you say, show me that the exhaust comes into the room, I could provide the video. If you could order your topics, I could provide you the
video snippet to support
I
it.
think that's a good idea. I don't think we need to illustrate every single talking point, but maybe some of the ones that are really egregious, like you live in a trailer,
Conditions.
can't park the vehicles, the exhaust is a hazard, and then everything else we can discuss, like, it doesn't have the right insulation, it doesn't have this, it has asbestos, like, we don't need videos of asbestos or insulation.
And the trailer there was an electrical room, and there's this twin-size bed next to the electrical panel.
I think the trailer definitely has to be
Yeah,
in the
for
video.
sure.
And then the vehicles, for sure. Those are the top two, I think.
What about the leaky roof that I haven't heard anything else about?
We're about to have
That could get stains, mold.
Yeah.
Maybe an image or
So
something.
video from today?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I think,
We have a room that we had to clean out recently
the
because
deficiencies and
it's leaking.
everything. I just think that, like you said, the leaky roof, things that are, falling apart, the cracks in the foundation that are running up the bricks to the ceiling. People probably already know this already. They're like, yeah, it's an old fire station. It's not in the best condition. I feel like it's really important to emphasize it at these meetings with the votes, that the problem isn't going to go away if the vote is no.
Right.
It's never going to go away until something is done about it. So,
In actuality, it's probably going to get worse.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna get, and then your hand's gonna get forced in a way that you
if
don't
it's,
want it to.
Right.
if you wait until it's like, oh man, this, we can't be in this building anymore. It's unsafe to be in here. We have to have an emergency fire station built. I guarantee it's not going to be cheaper.
Yeah.
I think part of that discussion, actually, is where you're able to talk about what Donna just spoke about. A lot of people, well, not a lot, but some people have asked, why can't it be smaller? Why can't it be less money? And the answer is because you don't want to be back here in another 10 years, talking about enlarging it. And I think one way to say that without, kind of casting blame, I guess, on the previous projects, which were, smaller, right? Is to just say, look, we've seen other communities around us do exactly that, where they build something smaller and then 10 years, 20 years, in some cases like Walpole, 5 years, they're saying, okay, well, we built this and it's great because it replaced basically what we had, but it didn't fulfill the needs that we required. And now we have to figure out another project and have more money. And, I think it's another opportunity also to say that, if people look back in time and they say, well, if we had built this thing in 2015 or 16 or 17 or whatever, it would have been less expensive than today. And if we wait if we build half of what we need now or 3/4 of what we need now, and then the 25% or 50% 10 or 20 years from now, or 10 or 15 years from now, it's just going to cost more money. And interest rates, are interest rates, and financing is financing. Because I think you've all said that throughout this whole project, right? That, that it was a responsible, do it once, do it right approach. And that's one of the things that I think people are going to want to hear. Because I do think that there are questions out there as to why can't we just, forget about what we need. Why can't we just build something to replace what we have now? And there's other answers to that too, right? Codes have changed, requirements have changed, even the town bylaws have changed, which has added, costs to this project and design decisions to this project. So I see that as an opportunity when you're discussing that topic of saying, why it is the way it is that there's a conscious effort here to not have to do this again, not have to go through this again. And it might be worth, spending 1 or 2 minutes on that.
I think some of that is good to put, and some of it is good for talking points in case a question is asked. But just saying that, we've talked with multiple communities, and there's the experience out there that if you build too small, you have to immediately turn around and add on to it. And I think that's a good thing to be upfront with. And also the point of, it would have cost less in 2016, and this is going to cost less than if we build it in 2026. And it's nothing's going to get cheaper with time.
Yeah.
And I think some of the talking points, like if they ask, there's a question up there about what can we take away? Because I'm sure that'll be a question. Like, well, can't we take out 10% or 25% of the square footage? I think that's a talking point of, well, the program started at 33,000 and it's at 26,000. We already did that. We've done our due diligence. We've taken everything out already that can possibly come out. Like, this is smaller than what we started with. Because I don't think people realize that. I think they just see, oh, this is what they started with. But I don't think that's something that should be addressed in the initial talk. I think that's more of a direct answer to a question.
If we were to reduce the size of the, I don't think we touch on, I think we all feel pretty committed that this is the right size building. I don't think we want to start shooting ourselves in the foot by saying, if you build something smaller, this is what it means.
Right.
Because that's just going to give the wrong impression. I think it's going to give the impression that you can do something smaller when in reality, it's not really.
But we could say that, other communities have gone back and built smaller than what they thought their needs were and immediately needed to add on to it. this is what our needs are. We can't build smaller than this, or we're gonna be in the same boat.
Yeah, I think when we're going over the size of the, so let's talk about this a little bit more. I mean, what are the things so we know we want to touch on the 2016 project. We know we want to have a video of the existing conditions, and maybe there's some sort of narrative, there's some talking points, Chief, that goes along with it that you can say, you know, the vehicles also have to park over each other, and here's like a snippet of watching us, you know, park on top of each other. But as far as presenting the project, I mean, what are the pieces we do want to hit, so we can think about like what slides we want to have presenting to that. To me, it's the square footage and how did we get here.
I think that's a good one because it can answer twofold, right?
Yeah.
The point he just brought up about, hey, we started off at 36,000 and now we're down to 25 and some change, or 26 and some change. We've already whittled away and reconfigured and took the building envelope and compressed it as small as it could be to fit what we needed to fit for the program. But it's also talking about how did we get here, you know, what's the size of the building and why is it this way? It kind of hits all of that.
And I just want to emphasize, Chief, that what we did was we didn't cut program when we made the building smaller.
Right.
Which is the difference, right? So you can take a program and you can cut out certain spaces or reduce the size of certain spaces and say, hey, this is the way that we made the building, you know, smaller, because that's when you have to come back and add things back on. What we did is we designed spaces to be multi-purpose, multi-use. We designed spaces like the locker room is one example I've used with some folks in the community who've asked these questions. You know, we got rid of a quote unquote locker room. We didn't get rid of the lockers. We're using the hallway as the locker room, right? So the reality is, because we have the individual bunk rooms, you can grab your stuff, go into bunk room and change. You don't need a specific room to change in. And so the features, the functions, the usability or function, if you will, of the station remains the same with less square footage.
I think just wording that, I think you have to be careful, because if you say, well, we didn't cut any of the program out, people are going to say, well, why not? You couldn't possibly need everything in the program. But I think saying that we made sure the space was multi-purpose. We made the best use of the smallest square footage that we could. Right.
Yeah, I think the cutting of the program stuff, that was earlier on in the process,
Right.
and then the shrinking of the square footage was later.
Because we cut out, or the subcommittee cut out the watch room and a number of other spaces that there were cuts to the program that weren't made.
Yeah.
But I think we have to be careful, because I would be asking that if I was a member of the public. I'm like, well, why didn't you cut the program? Like, there has to be something in there that you can cut.
Yeah.
But we did see, I guess, I completely understand what you're saying, Justin. I think that, you know, when programs get cut, you normally have to add things on. I think you're right. We cut a conference room from the admin area, right? Because we're just going to use the chief's office. So we saved a whole room, and that's multi-feature, multi-function. We cut out individual offices and created an open office space, again, saving some square footage. We cut out the watch room, but we cut out the watch room because we didn't need it, because, you know, the mech is utilizing the station as a dark station, basically, so they are the watch room. So I think,
I just think illustrating the multi-purposeness of the spaces is better
Yeah.
than saying, we didn't cut anything out of the program. We put a lot of effort into designing this to fit the needs of the department in the smallest space available.
right.
We're saying the same thing, it's just how you deliver it.
Exactly, yeah. I think that's my point, is you can deliver it in a way in which people will say, well, wait a minute, you didn't cut anything? And you can deliver it in a way that says, like, we made it sure it was as small as it could be.
Maybe after we kind of go through that, I'm wondering if we should kind of touch on like some of the answer to the first question that we have on the FAQ that says, here's the surrounding square footage of surrounding buildings, but not necessarily focus on those, but focus on, look, Walpole just built a new building, and now they didn't build it large enough, they're looking to build another one.
Exactly, yeah.
And take 2 or 3 of those and then dovetail that into, we're looking to build some expansion space into this building, not so much that it affects the project cost to some great extent, but it allows us to expand into this building so that 10 years from now, we're not sitting like one of these other towns looking to expand. What I'm thinking is like, maybe we have those couple of surrounding town bullet points and then have, you know, a bullet point that says, you know, here's how much additional, here's what we've done to kind of future-proof this building.
I think we also need to explain that, I think we need to spend some time explaining that we've bid the program by this point, or bid the building by this point, and that the number that we're producing is a much more firm number than what otherwise could be expected.
Well, I think after we get through how we kind of develop the size of the project, I think that's a good one to touch on, is like, here's the project cost. So, Steve or Ron, what are your thoughts on, or Todd, I guess, what are your thoughts, the best way to present that? Should we have kind of the overall project estimate that maybe either Steve or Ron can run through with the updated construction number in it? Or what do you think the best way, I'm assuming you've done this in the past where you've presented a project cost like this. How have you done it in the past?
You don't, yeah, we can certainly do that, but we don't want to go into the line-by-line detail
Sure.
that we have in our construction estimate and our total project budget. You sort of roll things up into categories of, construction, soft costs, and you give a quick explanation what's in a soft cost, and then your contingencies, and then your total project budget, and you can, sort of differentiate, here's what the construction cost in this case is going to be, because we're going to have a bid in hand, and then this is what our overall project cost is with our soft costs for fees and owner furnished items and so forth, and then our various contingencies. And then it's obviously, it'll be, if we're on a slide, it'll be a lot easier to read also.
Yeah.
Something to consider is that we could have a one-pager that we could have for people that come to town meeting, which just has the overall cost, the projected or the average tax bill impact, and maybe, because it'll be a front and back, and maybe if we pick some FAQs that we really think are important to put on there, put them on there, and there you go. You got a one-pager that you get when you come to town meeting as well, and you pick up your article. It's probably a way to...
We could put the project timeline on there, like start, end, occupy.
Maybe
Yeah.
that's...
I do think once we bring up the cost, we have to, then the next talking point needs to be the tax issue.
Yeah, I was thinking that would be kind of the next slide, is, okay, here's the project cost. Here's the estimated cost to the taxpayer. And so, Todd, I don't know if you would feel comfortable giving some sort of, I'm sure there's going to be assumptions that even at that point are going into the cost, and maybe giving some background on what those assumptions are and how that number was developed.
And then how do we present that number? Do we do it as an annual number, per $1,000 number, or a monthly number? Because if you tell, like, that's like the same idea of, like, why does something cost $199.99 instead of $200? Like, if we say it's $5 a year versus saying it's $32 a month, like, people perceive those numbers differently.
I think it's usually presented on an annual basis, right?
That's what we've typically done, like an
And it's
average
per
tax.
1,000, and then the average size property.
Do the taxes paid here quarterly, or are they semi, so quarterly? So quarterly would probably be, what's going to be the impact on my quarterly tax bill?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you could present both annually, and here it is by quarter, per 1,000 and per, average household. Okay, so we've got, touch on the 2016 project, existing conditions, present the project and where we touch on the square footage, how did we kind of arrive at the square footage we have, touch on the multi-purpose spaces, how we're future-proofing the building, touch on the project cost and the cost of the taxpayer. Anything else we want to go over before we open it up to, I'll put together a little closing after that, but.
We should just talk about the timeline. So, we anticipate construction to start mid this month and finish mid that month.
Yeah, we can do that.
Yep.
I don't think it needs to be very specific, like, oh, they're going to deliver
Nope.
steel on this date.
Sure. No, I think
It'll
when
just be
construction
the
starts.
overall duration.
Yeah,
Yep.
when the building is complete, when demo's complete.
Yeah.
When site
Yep.
work's complete.
It'll be basically our phases that we have out for the contractor anyways. It'll just coincide.
Yeah.
We
So-
can also maybe discuss our coordination with the other boards. I think we've definitely made an effort to coordinate with all the other town boards.
Yep.
Because I think there was a question at the town meeting of like, well, have you talked to the planning board yet?
Yeah.
A lot. Yeah, we need to emphasize that that's happened extensively.
Yeah.
Maybe that's in part of presenting the project. After we go through square footage and spaces, we talk about, feedback from boards.
We certainly haven't tried to hide from any of them.
I think maybe even before the square footage discussion, we talk about, we evaluated renovating and adding on versus building new. And, here Ron, maybe we even pull up the cost estimate we did back in feasibility that showed it was more expensive to renovate.
I think that'd be good.
Yeah, and I think we include the code information that we just provided on the FAQ as well.
Right. So maybe that's a why not renovate slide. And then go into the square footage, how did we get here?
We could talk about the not updating the trailer as a cost-saving measure, because that was a substantial amount of money. I don't know if that's more of a talking point.
Yeah, that's getting pretty into the weeds, I think, of the line items. That maybe once we put the slides together, we can see if it's something we want to add in.
But we could have it ready in case the question is asked, like, tell us again how you've cut the costs.
I think that mostly hits on the ones I had. Chris, I'm reading yours. Does that
Yeah, I think
more or
it-
less touch on yours?
Yeah.
I think closing, we can touch on where to get more information, but I feel like anybody that's there is just going to ask the questions there.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think it just gives that last little bit of like, if you really want to dig down deep into some of the information that we have,
Right.
Here's where to get it.
Clear a Saturday night and watch a bunch of videos. Okay. So what on the existing conditions do we want to, so my thought, Ron, I should have brought my computer with me, but I don't know if you can, is this anything that you can start to put together a slideshow and then maybe distribute it? And my thought was, if you leave me a slide for the 2016 project, I can start to fill that in, and then we can, at our next meeting, I'm starting to think that maybe we should meet at 6 o'clock before the community event, just to kind of walk through this, the first pass through it, and see what everybody's thinking about it.
Yeah, if you send me the outline that you have on here, on
Yeah,
the screen right now,
Why don't
I will, we will put something together that, basically a slideshow. We'll touch on these issues, we'll have an image, or we'll have some data on the slides, and then I will send that to you. You can distribute it. Our next meeting, we can fine tune it and finalize it.
yeah,
And then
I might send
talk
you
a little bit more about it.
Yeah, I might send you a pretty bare bones outline. Like it might just say touch on 2016 project. You just give me a bare slide. I can start to type in stuff that I'd want to
Yep,
talk about.
yep, we can do that.
I think you could almost, if we're gonna, you could kind of take components of this and use it for that next community event and kind of feel out what the response is. If we have, not that it's going to be done, you're not going to take the slideshow and actually present it, but at
Right.
least the subject matter within it, you could kind of feel that out and, present it, and put it out there and then kind of see what the response is like to see how we maybe need to fine tune it or, what may be directed or, insightful or tough questions we may get that we need to be prepared to answer so that in the presentation on game day, if you will, we got it there.
I mean, we could at that on the 14th, like I get up, I give an introduction, I talk about the 2016 project. I have you talk about some existing condition issues, and then Ron runs through, how did we get here? How do we arrive at this square footage? We'll still just have the estimate at that point. We're not going to have the bid in hand. We don't want to talk about the cost of the taxpayer, but then we can talk about the project timeline too. So we could kind of touch on the pieces that we're going to touch on. And my thought, and maybe we can talk about this a little bit more once we have the slideshow put together. I mean, I'd like to not just have it be me up there talking for 20 minutes. If I can give the introduction, talk about 2016, give it to you for the existing condition stuff, give it to Ron to walk through kind of the design specifics, give it to Todd for the cost of the taxpayer, and then if someone else wants to talk about the project timeline, and then I can give a closing, and we can kind of split it up that way a little bit.
Yeah, I think tag teaming is good. I think, having the citizens see their, fellow citizens, what they've contributed, the expertise that you all have as individually in this field, from the engineering piece, architectural piece, and then having Todd be a part of it. Obviously, he's the financial piece. I think tag teaming it that way would be very good.
And then I think that introduces the members who will answer the questions that get asked, as opposed to like, oh, is Joe here? Where is he? Can you come up here and answer that question?
Yeah.
Please.
I can do the schedule, Kevin.
You can do the schedule, okay. So, yeah, I mean, I'd like to, I know you and Ron aren't really part of the committee, but I think the pieces you're going to talk about, you're probably most adept at talking about. And then have the chief and I and maybe another committee member kind of start and end the thing, really. Could be good. So, yeah, well, I'll copy everybody, but I'll kind of send out these bullet points to you, Ron, tonight. Maybe not tonight, because I got a text message that we have no power at the house, but.
No, that's fine, just whenever. We'll get it done for the next meeting.
Yeah.
I got to go get in the portal, it sounds like.
You what?
Our emergency management portal and report some stuff. I know there's a couple, we've had a few incidents come in while I'm sitting here, so.
Well, I guess it's down power lines, so maybe
Yeah,
it's.
there's a couple sets now, from what I'm aware of.
So for the existing conditions, I mean, I'll copy you on the email, Chief, but do you want to maybe identify? I mean, I think definitely the trailer, the apparatus bay.
The water leaking, if we could possibly identify it.
I'll go try to take a little video when I get back, because if it's going to be there leaking, it's going to be leaking right now. The last time it rained hard is when we got water dripping through the ceiling, so I'm like, it's raining and blowing again.
Yeah, or anything else as you're walking around, maybe tomorrow you say, hey, we should show this too. and maybe get that to Donna to chop up a little bit.
Is there a picture somewhere that a member would have of them like walking from the trailer to the firehouse in the snow?
In water, but not on ice.
Yeah. I can give you the injury reports. That
How
I've
deep
had
is
to
the
put
water?
in. But I don't think I can share those, but we have a couple.
Redact the information and say, here it is, plain as day. This is what happens.
If someone really questions, you can say, here's a number, we've had X number.
Yeah.
But I don't think that'll really come up. I was just.
But hearing that is pretty impactful, honestly.
Anything? So we've got 2016 project, existing conditions, presenting the project cost to the taxpayer, the project timeline, and then a closing.
That's what I don't.
Anything that you think we're missing? That kind of touches everything?
That sets up to flow really
Yeah.
nicely and to address, just like you all talked about, like these things that have come up consistently, we can answer a lot of them, and then we got a little gap to fill towards the end with the cost piece and, those pieces. But I think, that can, I'm sure we'll get some good questions and some hard questions, and we'll probably get some comments, but, that's to be expected.
Are there usually a substantial amount of questions with this, or does it all depend on how good of a job we do laying it out?
I think no matter what we talk about, there's going to be lots of questions.
That's fair, I'm just curious.
That's good, though.
And I think that's to be expected too. I mean, it's a pretty significant investment. We're asking, and
If we don't get any questions, probably something's off.
It's probably bad. So, I think we want questions. Okay. All right, so we'll start to get this underway. Amanda, do you know, is there anywhere there's probably nowhere else to meet at the library, right? We should probably meet here and then go over to the library for 7 o'clock?
The little school.
Why do you say?
What's that?
Why do you say that? Why wouldn't you meet there?
Because of the event before.
Well, there's an event before us, so we can't meet in that room.
Meet in the schoolhouse.
No,
The schoolhouse room?
It's a schoolhouse, there's a small little conference room.
Do we need to ask
we did.
Sarah Ward about
Yeah,
that?
we reach out to Sarah. Amanda, what's the room that we're going to be meeting in? Is it the schoolhouse?
No, it's the community room.
Okay,
Community.
so yeah, we could check and see if the schoolhouse is available.
Sure.
I'll check online right now. But there is also a conference room just off the lobby.
Yeah, so I don't
reach out
know.
to
Yeah, if you can reach out to Sarah and just find out if there's a space we can meet in. Just
I'll do that, yep.
thank you. So then I'll let everybody know if we're going to meet at the library or not. But we'll plan to meet at
Just-
6 and kind of go. I'm thinking
Just
this
so
will
I'm
be.
clear, are you saying just the committee kind of?
Oh yeah, we'll just have. It'll just be a regular committee meeting,
Okay,
and I think
Gotcha.
the only agenda item will really be going over this slideshow, unless something else comes up, and then
Okay.
it'll be the community event after that.
sure.
So I guess if you're putting together an agenda, the community event's that last thing on the agenda.
Okay, I gotcha.
Okay. All right. That's everything I had on on discussion items. So I don't know if I should bring this up now, but or if I guess it's more of an action item. So I think we have to talk a little bit about. Carol Green has let us know that there is a requirement for mail-in voting also, in addition to early voting. But there's some different approaches of how to do that, whether it's a mailer that goes out or it's like a reverse phone call to notify people that that's available if they want to have it. I don't think it's necessarily our decision, but we should probably make a recommendation to the select board of how we might want to do that.
Right, and so, just to give a quick update, what we've already done, Carol has already posted this sort of mail-in. She's got a form already for people who are interested in voting by mail. She's put that on her community page, et cetera, put it on the website. We'll put it on the town Facebook. That could be enough. It's just a question, hey, if the fire station building committee wants to recommend that we do a mailer, that obviously has costs that would have to be incorporated in the budget and so forth. Just like Kevin said, it's not, we won't be saying what we'll do, but it's, we could present this to the select board and say, hey, we're interested in doing, mailing a postcard if that's the thing, or a reverse phone call, or, just putting on the social media is sufficient. It's fine. But it's something for us to just talk about if we're interested.
Is there like a legal requirement to, is posting on Facebook enough?
It's enough.
Oh,
Right,
really?
for what we're doing, that's enough.
Yeah. Is there a cost to the reverse phone call?
No cost of.
Yeah, I feel like that might be a little more.
And that's kind of what Carol.
The Facebook, I feel like people could miss it.
The reverse 911 is only going to go to those who have signed up for it, so it doesn't
Sure.
go to everybody.
Understood.
Yeah.
But if you do that along with
Yep.
Facebook posting,
Exactly. And when I spoke with Carol, that's kind of, and she's done this quite a few times, this is what she sort of recommended as well. So I think it's a prudent way to go. Just wanted to share that.
Should we vote on that officially, you think, or do you just want to, well, yeah, we'll vote on the recommendation, so I'll put that as an action item after, kind of at the end here. All right, so the first action item is consider approval of Doran Whittier's amendment for the exterior acoustic study. It's everybody's favorite topic. So I think we talked about it a little bit more at the last meeting. Justin, I think you were still on at that point. So I think the concern, and I guess what I'm thinking now, and maybe others are thinking the same thing, if someone does come and complain later, once the project's built, Ron, I think you were explaining this before, but how do we get a baseline that we had? How do we get a baseline, or how do we prove that the station's no louder than it was before if the existing building's already gone?
So what's going to happen is what you're approving right now is the cost to have our acoustic engineers visit the site. When they visit the site, they're going to take that background noise like right now before construction starts.
No, I get that if we approve.
And then if somebody comes, so later on in life, somebody comes to complain, we're able to show them that these were the noise levels before the new building was built. And then they're going to do exactly the same test with the new building in place. And then they can compare the results, and then the town can decide, is it similar results? Because if it's similar results, then we really haven't affected anything, right? I'll give you a great example. You have an emergency generator right now. When you fire up that emergency generator, it makes a certain amount of noise. You should be exercising that thing, I think, once a week or once every other week.
Every Monday.
Okay, so every Monday that thing fires up. So when the new building's built, you're going to have an emergency generator, and that thing's going to fire up every Monday. And so we'll be able to say that the condition on the site really hasn't changed due to the project that was done. And I think that's the goal. The goal is to be able to demonstrate that the project either did or didn't change, significantly based on the new building. There's nothing at the state requirement, as we mentioned. There is a planning board condition basically that says, we're going to follow the DEP noise requirements, but the DEP doesn't have any noise requirements. So, it'll be just a device or a tool, as Justin had pointed out before. It's a tool that the town can use to say that there was a fire station here, made a certain amount of noise. After our project, there's a fire station here, it makes a similar amount of noise. And, the trucks leaving the station, the alarms, anything like that, none of that factors into it, right? It's literally just background noise. And so that's the intent of this. The difficulty, if we don't do it, is exactly what Justin had said at our last meeting. If we don't do it, then we've got nothing to compare it to, and no one's going to be able to say, "Oh, the station made half that noise," right? Or, the old station didn't make nearly, that amount of noise. Having this in hand gives the town, the ability to say, "No, this is."
You really very difficult to prove otherwise.
Okay. So I just want to ask again, Steve, I think you answered this before, but I don't necessarily have an issue doing it. I think it's probably a good, $7,000 is a lot of money, but I guess in the grand scheme of the project, it's not a lot of money, especially if it can maybe kill a lawsuit that comes up later. I guess I just wanted, and I think everybody here on the committee probably wishes that this had been in the budget originally. I just want to know that the $7,000 is a fair and reasonable number, and that it's similar, if we had anticipated this in the beginning, that it would have cost about the same at the beginning. We're not paying more for doing this late in the game. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. It's a separate task. It isn't like an overlapping task for something else. This is a sub-consultant for Ron and Don on this. So, and it's comparable to some of the other projects I've worked on where acoustical sub-consultants have been brought in for, in one case, for an actual complaint of a generator at where a building wasn't before. A little bit different situation, but they were able to provide the documentation that essentially squelch the noise complaint.
Does anybody else have anything else they want to?
I maintain the same position. It's not required by anybody. It's $7,000. We've cut every penny we could out of this project. I think it's frivolous and wasteful.
Yeah, I understand that. I guess my opinion is that if there's someone against the project that lives right around the property and they complain later, that it's going to be difficult to prove later. And $7,000 is definitely a lot of money, but it's probably not going to look like a lot of money if something like that comes up.
I don't want to rehash what I said before because I think we all understand it, but the town has been in this position before. And it didn't do its due diligence before with it, and it costs more money to remediate the issue later on. If the building commissioner recommends it, I think it makes sense. I think we're all in agreement. We're frustrated we didn't have this before, but that's just where I'm at.
What order of magnitude are we talking to remediate the other issue compared to $7,000? Was it, 10 times as much?
Yeah,
to
put certain panels on top of the building or something for it was much more extensive than the acoustic study.
So, Justin, to give you an idea, we've done studies like this in the past where we get the background noise and then we do a calculation, which we're going to do on this project too, right? That's part of the $7,000 is not only do we get and gather the background noise data physically, what's there now, but we're also we're crunching the numbers of, what are the exterior louver exhausts going to be? What's the interior louver? What's the noise through the louvers?
I understand generally what it looks at, but we're not substantially changing the use of the site. We're not building on a new site. We're not building a completely different building. It's not like we're putting a baseball stadium where a house used to be, or an outdoor racetrack where a house used to be. The current building's a fire station, has a generator. The new building's a fire station, has a generator. I just don't think there's a substantial need for it, because if we were building at a different location that had no building, I'd be less opposed to it.
We are putting some additional equipment outside though, aren't we, Ron? There's some
I
compressors
think they
and,
lost us.
oh, we lost the audio.
Can't hear you.
How about now?
Oh, now we can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep,
Did you hear Justin?
we did.
Okay.
Well, half of it.
I just think we're not
know what
substantially
he's saying.
changing the use of the site, and we're not substantially changing what is going to be situated on there, so I just don't see a need for it.
But we are putting additional equipment outside that doesn't reside there now, right? I think there's some compressors going in the
Yeah,
back.
yeah, there is, I mean, Justin, I want you to know that we are in 100% agreement with you and Justin. that it's, where we live in a day and age where, unfortunately, you have to do this. Well, you do it in a way that, as Kevin said, we got compressors outside that you didn't have before. We need to do that calculation to say, we're going to increase the noise by this much, or it's going to be relatively the same, or what the deal is. And we do that so that, and I'm just throwing this out there, 5 years from now, somebody says, it's making way too much noise, or 6 months after the building opens, it's making too much noise. Okay, what's the solution? The solution is we put a sound barrier, between whatever the issue is, or around whatever the issue is that we think the issue is, and that's a $50,000 or $100,000 item. And the town decides, do we spend that money and put up this sound barrier, or do we go to court and spend, whatever money, to then have a judge say, now go put up the sound barrier?
But the acoustic study could come back and say that we need that to add on to the project as an add, which would then incur even more costs. And the town may say, no, our bylaws say you can't put that there.
100%. That's exactly right. But
So
I think, as Justin's saying, your due diligence is done. You studied it. You reacted to it. The decision was, it doesn't meet the bylaws, it's not going in. Right?
I think this amounts to something similar to insurance. It's one of those things where, you know what, like, nobody likes to pay for it, but man, when you wish you had it or wish you needed it, you're glad you did it.
All it takes is one person.
Yeah, and I think, unfortunately, this is a I don't want to say controversial, but it is definitely a heavily, there's a lot of strong opinions one way or another about this project, and if the wrong person is rubbed the wrong way by either the success or it moving forward, you certainly don't want to give them any ammunition or reason that we could have eliminated or had, data to refute. I agree with you. I think, to some extent, like we've tried to be as responsible as possible, and we've cut costs and, made decisions about finishes and all kinds of things based off of what the cost is. And here, this cost is here, but this is, again, I think it's like insurance. It's like paying an insurance premium. Like, yeah, I don't want to, and I don't think anything's going to happen, and it may not. But man, if it does, I'm sure glad that I had it.
Any other discussion on this before I ask for a motion? Okay. I'll ask for a motion to consider approval of the Dorn-Witter amendment for the exterior acoustical study.
So
Second.
All right. All those in favor? Nay?
Nay.
Nay.
Okay.
I'm always a nay.
So
You
we
win.
just need simple majority, right?
Yes.
The motion passes. So I guess, Ron, what's the next step for it?
The next step is we have our acoustic engineers actually go out to the site and put some monitoring devices that they're going to leave in place for about 14 days.
Ron, I know we discussed this last time, and you said you're not going to put a markup on this. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
This is going to be a straight
you.
pass through. And again, it's unfortunate that we need to do it. Let's put it that way.
Well, if you want to contribute half, we'll take it. I'm not opposed.
You definitely don't need to do it.
I think your volume went down, Ron, I'm not sure.
I get awful quiet when I need to say no. Thank you.
We'll move to the next action item. I think we should probably just, we'll consider approval of the meeting minutes first, and then I'll do the ballot voting. Chris, have you had an opportunity to review the minutes?
Yep. The November 9th regular meeting minutes, no edits or comments. I'd like to ask for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
All right, passes. The only other thing, it's not on the agenda, but we discussed it a little bit, is the mail-in ballot voting as far as making a recommendation to the select board for how people should be notified. It's not really a scripted motion, but my suggestion would be the reverse phone call on Facebook to avoid the cost of the mailer, if that's not needed. I don't know if everybody feels the same. Okay. Then I'll ask for a motion to recommend to the select board that mail-in ballot voting be notified by reverse 911 and town Facebook.
Also moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Or you can talk to Carol, or
Yeah, I'll take it from here. I'll speak with Carol. We're doing pretty much all this stuff already
Yep.
anyway, and I'll just let the board know.
okay. All right, is there any other agenda items that anyone wants to discuss?
Nope.
All right, then I'll ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Second?
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. See everyone on the 14th.
All right.